I guess they commonly did this thing with this evil person with a mental disorder crap. I guess they did that in Smallville a lot. I personally didn't watch Smallville, but from what I hear, that was a pretty common trope. So we got the flashbacks this episode. So we got the usual Oliver in Hong Kong crap that's not even worth talking about. But actually, here there is something worth noting. There's a scene where Ollie and Katana are talking, and Katana refers to herself and Ollie as outsiders, which is a reference to the New 52 Jeff Lemire Green Arrow Outsiders War thing, and Katana herself is actually the leader of the Sword Clan, um, which is a pretty cool reference. Once again they're kind of acknowledging the Jeff Lemire Green Arrow stuff, but yeah, we're probably never gonna see that on live action, and it's too bad. I think that would, like I said in a previous video, I think that would work pretty cool with the show, but we're probably never gonna see it. You have to change a few things to get it to match the canon of the Arrow TV show, but I think it could be done and it'd be pretty cool, but not gonna see it, probably not. So the episode actually starts out with another flashback to no, has nothing to do with that crap. It's actually concerns Cupid, and we're flashing back to the events of the season 2 finale. Ollie, Felicity, and Diggle are rushing to get the Miracle cure from Star Labs, and on the way they stop to save this woman who's being attacked by a Miracle soldier. And so Ollie saves her, and she's obviously infatuated with Ollie. Um, so, just a little more about Cupid here for a second. The thing with Cupid here, it's explained as she has attachment disorder, which I guess is like the writer's attempt at making Cupid like grounded and realistic, like they've done some of the villains in the past, like Brutal or Shrapnel, who are kind of like out there, kind of a bit hokey if you were just to directly adapt them from the comics. So, previously like villains like that, they gave them sort of this grounded, realistic treatment so they can fit the universe of Arrow. And if that's what they were trying to attempt here, I don't think it worked. I don't think it went far enough in making her really realistic enough. Like she still comes off as like way too hokey, way too unrealistic, way too much like a '60s over the top Batman villain. So anyway, so okay, so getting back to the present day, Arrow and Captain Lance are checking out Stanzler's body, and they pull the arrow out of him, and the end of it has a spade on it instead of a usual typical arrowhead. Um, DC's Iron Man asks Felicity to dinner for a work-related business dinner where he's trying to negotiate some bullshit. Um, so initially she doesn't want to do it, but Ray got her address, so she agrees because apparently she's a shallow bimbo, which is not consistent with her character at all. She, you know, for what all we knew up to this point was a strong female character, but I guess apparently now she's not. Apparently she's willing to freaking go out with guys uh, just because they buy her nice crap. And we went through the whole spiel about how our heart belongs to Oliver, and that's also the reason why she wouldn't go out with the Flash, despite them having some chemistry or whatever and flirting with each other. But apparently now she's willing to compromise on that just because DC's Iron Man buys her some nice crap. Yeah, good for her. So, DC's Iron Man has a press conference. Uh, he has Felicity by his side, and he announces that Clean Consolidated is being rebranded as Palmer Industries. Ollie and Diggle are back at the Arrow Cave watching on, and Ollie has a man-child hissy fit, and they're examining the spade arrow, and he hits the spade part with a hammer, and finds a paper inside with an address. I mean, what the heck is this? Amazing Spider-Man 2? So, so Roy and Ollie go to this apartment that was the address on the piece of paper, and they find rose petals, candles, and a heart-shaped mirror, and a shrine to Oliver. So there's a phone in the room. It rings. Ollie answers it, and the voice tells Ollie, well, that well, it's Cupid, and she's telling Ollie that she's killing his enemies for him. So Ollie realizes the arrows are hearts and not spades. So Cupid sends, through the phone, he sends a picture of a guy she kidnapped to Ollie. Felicity IDs the guy Cupid kidnapped, asks Ollie for the night off to have dinner with DC's Iron Man. Uh, Ollie in pathetic man-child mode says she can go ahead and do whatever she wants. So Felicity figures out that Cupid used to work for SCPD and that she was let go for stalking her partner, and that she's been at every crime scene Ollie has been lately, which is why she looks so familiar to Oliver. So they then track Cupid down to a greenhouse. Roy and Oliver show up there. Let's see. Cupid takes out Roy. The dude she kidnapped is there. He's hanging from the ceiling with bombs strapped onto his chest. So Cupid flirts with Oliver. Then she escapes. Roy's pissed off. He was beaten so easily. Which, like, okay, so from the flashback, we're supposed to get the idea that Ollie saving Cupid is what got Cupid to go ahead and get archery training. And then 6 months later, she's a badass archer. Sound familiar? It's just like with Roy, where the whole archery training thing was totally rushed. So, as far as Cupid being able to beat Roy, I say whatever, because you know what? The amount of training they got was probably about the same. So, Ollie asks where Felicity is, and Diggle reminds him that she's on a dinner date. So, next, Ollie goes to a psychotherapist that the SCPD had Cupid go to. Diggle goes to talk to Felicity, tells her Oliver is all in knots about DC's Iron Man. Felicity tells Diggle Ollie made his choice, and if he has a problem, he can tell her herself. So just get used to this. We're gonna see a lot of the CW-esque relationship drama crap in these next couple episodes. Okay, so Ollie talks to the psychotherapist, says Cupid has attachment disorder, and that Ollie should get some psychological help, which is exactly what I would have said to a intimidating guy who used to go around murdering people dressed up in a green hood with armed with a bow and arrow. Yes, I would make some quips about him needing psychological help. And at this point, I, I had an eye-rolling moment, as the show pretty much does for every episode from here on out. I have at least one moment where I roll my eyes. That's just not realistic at all. I would not be making sarcastic quips when I have this weirdo vigilante questioning me. But hey, whatever. We're in a live action comic book now. So DC's Iron Man and Felicity have dinner. Uh, he gets her a $10 million necklace, and then so they're talking. Ray is talking business with the couple. They're having their negotiation or whatever, and Felicity gives this speech about how great Ray is because he bought her a couple things, a couple expensive things. Cupid tracks Ollie down to the club. Ollie calls her and says he'll meet with her anywhere but there. They go ahead and meet at the place where Ollie saved her in the flashbacks. So here's the rub. Ollie admits to her he knows what it's like to not be able to be with the one you want. Meanwhile, Felicity's back in the Arrow Cave listening. Oh, how convenient. So, the two get into a fight, which is a fucking joke because Oliver should be able to punch her in the face and, it should be over. So, but anyway, they get in a fight. And, they're at the subway. So, they end up on some train tracks. And Cupid handcuffs him to the tracks. He, breaks free and then, saves both of them from an oncoming train. So Ray meets up with Felicity. Um, he tells her that the business negotiations went good and thanks Felicity for helping him out. And Oliver is conveniently about to tell Felicity how he feels after getting a pep talk from Diggle, and he witnesses Ray and Felicity kissing. So Ollie has a big temper tantrum in the Arrow Cave, and Roy's there too, feeling all bad about how he killed that cop. So Roy and Oliver decide to go have dinner at Diggle's that night, which is actually a pretty good moment. But we needed to see more of that kind of stuff, like these moments, these kind of friendship bonding moments. They could have used those more when we were trying to establish that Roy and Oliver have a brotherly bond and things instead of just rushing in and telling us that they have a brotherly bond. But yeah, I've talked enough about that. So DC's Iron Man goes into an office and he pulls up schematics on a blue Iron Man armor. And the stinger for the episode is pretty much just like the one from the previous episode, where we get to see the villain from the next episode. So again, I guess this is kind of like almost kind of like Lost in Space or something, but it's the Flash villain Captain Boomerang, and he goes ahead and kills a guy with a boomerang in an alley. So yeah, this episode pretty boring. I mean, of all the filler episodes we get between now, like actually, yeah, now and episode 9, this is probably the most useless. Actually, I take that back. I say from episode 5, so the 4 I was talking about. Of those 4, this is the most useless episode. I mean, I guess it's supposed to highlight that Oliver has woman problems, but who cares? Really, it's obvious. This is the CW pandering to the female demographic. Relationship drama quota bullshit. I mean, this episode is just completely fucking useless. Really.